Almost this entire saw station was built out of stuff that other people threw away. The cabinets were trash and most of the wood was scraps, and somehow I turned it into this large, oversized 2-saw workstation. Like I said, these cabinets came directly out of the trash. They're actually IKEA cabinets. They were the catalyst for this build because I essentially had the entire base ready to go. I don't think they actually make these style of cabinets anymore, but it's IKEA. You could probably find something similar. The added bonus was the bottoms were plastic and the feet were adjustable. There is some water leakage into this shop. It's also not temperature controlled, so the base touching the concrete, it being plastic, is an added bonus. To start on this station, all I did was level up the first cabinet. I knew the floors were in this new space are severely unlevel, so it's easiest to work from your high spot, which is going to be the cabinet all the way on my right, and then work my way to the left. The radial arm saw is what I'm putting in first, and I have these arms I made when I first got it, which was probably about 8 years ago at this point, and I just have 2 dados cut out of it. You could see them on the sides, which is where the bolts of my saw fit, and I could just measure the width and then from there start leveling the second cabinet. Now, as you can see, it was severely unlevel, like I said, so not only did I have to use the feet, but also some 2x4 blocks on the bottom to get it lifted up. And then I could put the radial arm saw in place. You could see my style saw, it has these 2 kind of anchor wings sticking out with bolts on the side, and that's how it slides into place. Now, I lost some footage, so I'm skipping ahead when I'm installing the table here, just to show you how I put the miter saw stand in place. This one was basically a platform with a piece of ply on top. In same principle, I just attached it to the 2 sides of the cabinet, measured my width, and put it in place. That will get adjusted as the table goes into place, but those are how my 2 saws will go. And then for getting all the cabinets set up, like I said, after the second one, I leveled up to the third one. Your life will be so much easier if these things are level. The wall in the back wasn't perfectly square, so when that happens, it's easiest to just level off the front of the cabinets. So you could see with a straight edge against the front, none of the cabinets are tilting one way or the other, so when I put my top on, it will fit. Now for the top, I used scrap, but then I was going to use laminate. But when I was in the store, this masonite with this faux finish on top, which has a smooth finish, which means it will be easier to clear, was at a severe discount. So that's actually what I decided to use, and I went with torsion boxes for this. One of the main reasons I did that too, I already had the materials to make them. I had the vacuum press, I had this 1/2-inch MDF in the shop, which means the only thing I bought so far is about $30 worth of the top material. But also because it was going to be really big, I didn't want to worry about the weight. And if you notice, the one downside of these cabinets is they're only a little over 16 inches deep, so I was going to have quite a severe cantilever on the front and the back, and the torsion box will help with that. Now, I want to emphasize you do not need to make torsion boxes for this. You could see I'm setting up my old top. People that watch the channel will recognize this. This is actually just a slab of MDF that I got out of a treadmill. It's about 1 inch thick, a scrap piece of wood to separate the front and the back, which acted as the fence, and that is what I used for years without a problem. So if you don't want to make the torsion boxes or can't make the torsion boxes, you can laminate some MDF together, you could laminate some ply together to make your top. But once I had my tops made and I put a hardwood edge around them, the first cut I had to make was go around the arm of the radial arm saw, so I could cut that out, which is always a little bit of a scary thing once you freshly make a big piece of material like this for a project, and kind of lift it into place. And then that is how that first big section went. If you watch the torsion box table, you know I made this in 4 sections because the radial arm saw, it's separate. There's basically a front and the back, and the fence separates that. So I have an 8-foot section, which leads me right up to just about where the miter saw is, and then 4-foot sections after that. Now, I was trying to get really clever with it. this, I wanted everything to be seamless and there not to be big gaps. So I thought I could just kind of cut out a notch for the miter saw and it would work, but it didn't. There was varying levels to it, so I eventually just kind of bit the bullet and notched out a large section. At this point, I was pretty fed up with this build. It was taking longer than I thought it would. The torsion boxes were already a pretty big time commitment. I needed to start getting back to client work. So for the edges, I just got scrap pieces of Douglas fir and glued them. Wherever you see me make a cut, that's what I do, instead of what I usually do, which is tongue and groove going into the piece. So once I had this back section in place, I could start working on squaring up the fence. That's going to be the most important part with the radial arm saw. My tabletop is flat, which means when I put my fence against it, that will also be flat. So I could just square up the blade to the front of that and screw that top in place. Then for the next section that goes on the other side of the miter saw, I'm going to be using a level to make sure that they're in the same plane. Like I said, the wall is not flat, so I'm not really using that as a reference point at this point. And then I could notch out the back. It was a nice angled notch. You could see it on both sides. I could finish up the cut with a handsaw, and then, like I said, just glue these strips of Douglas fir into place, and that is what the notch looked like for the miter saw. If you've done this before, you'll see why I end up changing this later, but for the time being, this was how everything fit into place. At this point, I could start making the fence for this. It's just going to be 2 pieces of 1/2-inch ply laminated together, and then I'm putting a laminate on top of it. I had the laminate from a built-in I did a couple years ago laying around the shop. This cabinet grade ply is really nice, but without a finish, which I didn't feel like putting on there, it will get scuffed up pretty quickly. So the laminate's an easy way to just have this as durable as possible. Put some brads in it and then clamped it together and let this dry. I made an 8-foot piece and then a 4-foot piece for the other side of the miter saw. The next day I could come and clean up the edges. The final width of this is obviously 1 inch because it's 2 pieces of 1/2-inch ply, and it was roughly 3.5 inches tall. I'm going to sink some T-track into the front of it for some stops, which will retire what I usually use, which is a clamp. Just clamp to the and a stop lock clamp to the fence. This will make life much easier. So I bought some T-track online, which was the most expensive part of this build. I put a dado groove almost down the center of this. I kind of put it because you're going to be losing about 1 inch of this material because the 2 tabletops are about 1 inch thick. And then I could go about and put the laminate on. Now I cut the laminate in strips because, like I said, at this point I just wanted to get this project done and get back to client work. I couldn't remember if the table saw chipped out laminate if I sent it through with the dado stack. So I pre-cut the dado stack, cut this into strips, and you'll see how I aligned it so I didn't have to worry about cutting the laminate on the table saw. With a straight edge and a laminate cutter, this stuff cuts really easily. I just clamp a straight edge on there. Always cut it oversized, trim it with a router afterwards. Pretty simple stuff. And it was funny, the faux finish on the actual table was because it was on sale, but the laminate I had was actually a wooden faux finish as well. So ironically enough, it does match. Before I put the laminate on the long fence that goes by the radial arm saw, the one downside to the radial arm saw is the carriage is quite wide and it does sit pretty low. So you have to remove a fair amount of material from your fence, or that carriage will hit that material fairly quickly. So I just notched out a piece, and you could see what I'm talking about here with the carriage, especially if I put a dado stack in there, sometimes I actually end up lowering the blade, so you have to make sure you have plenty of clearance there. Then to attach the laminate, I just use contact cement. I also had this in the shop, most likely from when I did this project with the laminate for the built-in. And then 2 pieces of T-track butted together, stick up enough and are wide enough to fit in that dado. So I could take my pieces, line it up with that T-track, push it down, and that is how I attached all of these. The seam actually worked out. It's right where the blade is going to cut through this fence. You don't really see it. And then the seam on the top, because there's that notch, you also don't see that one. So then once I had those in place, I could remove that T-track, and then I could use a roller to flatten this. It was extremely warm out when I was doing this, so the contact cement, I didn't have to worry about drying periods. In the winter time, contact cement could get a little difficult because it does have recommended temperatures to work up to. And then once that was dry, I could take a flush cut trim bit and my router and just flush cut all of that laminate to the fence. And then I could start attaching the T-track. The T-track came with screws, and I could cut this on the miter saw. And then this is when I realized that my clever notches were not going to work, because as soon as I moved the fence, the mechanism on the back to move the blade to cut bevels was going to hit. So you can see I put this in place on the saw and attached it. But then I had to go back and re-notch the material on the miter saw. So you can see as soon as I started to move it, it hit that. I bit the bullet. I just cut a big square out of the back, did not film it. I was pretty aggravated at this point. I had cut that like 3 times at this point. And then I just clamped a straight edge to the saw and put it on 2 scrap pieces of my tabletop, because I want the miter saw to be flush with the tabletop. And then you could see my table was a little off, so I can adjust that with the miter saw clamped up top and get it perfect now that the tables are going in place. The front table of the radial arm saw cantilevers, but it sits on those arms I have sitting out, so this one sat on there quite nicely. And like I said, I made these all oversized because I didn't know exactly the design I was doing at the time, so I could trim that down to size. The radial arm saw, I popped my old MDF top in place, and this was a good time to test the squareness of the saw on this piece, so I can make adjustments as I went. So right off the bat, this was pretty square, but I put a piece of blue tape on the scrap I cut, and I really dialed in that squareness. It might seem like it's square if you're only cutting through a 3-inch wide piece, but on this saw I could cut up to 16 inches, flip the piece and cut 16 more, so the depth of this saw is a little over 30 inches. So once, if it's off by just a little bit, well, you'll see it is at the end of that cut. So I dialed that in and then put that back in place, and then I can notch out where this is going to go for the saw. And that is not only so you don't have a corner to run into, but as you move the front of that saw, it can't be square on the edge there. You need the clearance as well. Before I finally go back and attach this one skinny front to the radial arm saw, I am putting 2 grooves in it for T-track. The old one, you could see I just drilled into the face of it, and I'm not necessarily precious with my materials in the shop, so over time I might do that if I need to, but the T-track should help eliminate some of that. You could see the old fence, over a while I created such a large kerf in the front that I get a lot of tear out on my projects, so I'm also going to route a groove that's the same thickness of the laminate, the masonite I put on the top of this, and that will be a sacrificial insert. So if that ever happens again where that groove becomes too big, I could take that out, replace it, and that should help cut down on the tear out that comes with the fact that it's a climbing cut. Makes it really pretty severe. So the T-track just fits in those grooves. Obviously the holes I had in the T-track weren't going to line up with the grid in my torsion box, so I drilled some new holes into that, countersunk some holes for the sacrificial insert so it's easy to replace. These are the new holes in the T-track, and then I can just make sure that the clearance for some of this T-track, the clearance is really tight. This one was pretty nice. It's not super deep track, and the heads of the screws could stick up a little bit, and the T-bolts will still slide right through. So like I said, the fence is attached with multiple screws into the back there, and then this table will be attached into my cabinets as well. I will deal with the fact that there's a severe cantilever on the front of this once I get everything in place. The back isn't an issue, and there's not a lot of weight going back there, and most of the back side is sitting on the cabinet, so I didn't really deal with that. In the back, it doesn't shift on me. So I could attach the smaller fence to the other side of the table, and this is where it's really important, where I'm lining up the miter saw all the way down to the fence on the radial arm saw. If these are off by just a little bit, which it has been before, it was in my old shop, if you have longer pieces to cut on either saw, it will hit parts of the fence on either of these edges and be a huge pain. So the most important part of this build was the fact that this fence lines up with the fences on the saws, but also the fences of each other. Once I got that perfect, I could attach this table as well through the cabinet. You could attach stuff through the top side. I wanted to hide the hardware, so I came up through the bottom. And then I could cut the front for the other side of this table as well. Same process, trimmed it down on the radial arm saw. Then I could trim up the angle in the front. I just lined it up with the angle on the saw, and then you could see this one barely sets in place because it only has about 3 inches on that cabinet. Now these IKEA cabinets came with doors, and in an ideal universe I would have reused them because doors do keep dust out of stuff, but I was using this as lumber storage. It sticks out quite a bit, so I just repurposed the doors to make essentially cleats on the bottom to hold up the tabletops. It worked out perfectly. The blue color matches with the top, and it was material I already had. So I just cut an angle on it so it was a little more streamlined, and then because the top now sits on top of the cabinet, all I did was notch out a little groove on the back side. So I'm going to sneak up on it on the table saw. I could bring it over to my bench and then finish up that cut with a handsaw. So now the inside of this will fit inside the cabinet, and that little notch will hold up the top of my piece. And that is how it fits in place, and that is how I very easily dealt with the fact that these cabinets aren't super deep. They're very narrow, but like I said, they were free. And building cabinets, I've done so much of it for customers. I pulled these out of the trash and they ended up working out perfectly. I did that on both sides, and then I could attach the top as well. The notch I cut out, I trimmed down the piece that I cut out and fit that back into the saw, and then that is essentially what that looks like. I made a short of a stop I made for the front of that table. I might add it into the next video that goes with this. Then I could organize all of this wood I just kind of had piled on the bottom, and that is what that looks like. And because I had materials, I spent probably less than $100 on this. The cabinets are a huge expense. Plywood for cabinets are a huge expense, and they were free. Next week, I'm going to tackle the dust collection on this, which is a video in and of itself, but this is kind of a sneak peek of the 2 shrouds I made for the top.